Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this episode of Talk About It with Marvin Lee. This week's episode, I'm going to be talking about the landmark decision in Louisiana versus Callais, where essentially the second Section 2, rather, of the Voting Rights Act was basically gutted, killed, in other words. Um, According to the 1965 Voting Rights Act, it prohibited racism, prohibited discrimination based on race, color, and I forgot what else it was, membership and something, um, which I can pull it up. But it definitely prohibited discrimination based on race and color when it comes to voting, and I'm a little disheartened. And this episode is, how did we get here? How did we get here? A lot of voices. We talked about Project 2025. During the last election cycle, a lot of people didn't believe that Project 2025 was even a real thing. But here we are in a day and age where a law that was designed to prevent discrimination, as soon as the Supreme Court ruled 6-3 in favor of weakening or essentially gutting the Voting Rights Act, we saw immediately in the state of Tennessee, we saw them do exactly what the law had been safeguarding us against for years, for decades rather. It prevented discrimination based on race, color, anything else like that. And immediately, before the ink had even dried, the only black district in the state of Tennessee, the entire state of Tennessee, District 9 in Memphis, it was essentially wiped away. And it's concerning because there are black MAGAs, people like Jason Whitlock. I'm not trying to name drop, but I am this time around, because he had the audacity to call Justin Pearson racist. And I'm gonna try. I hope you guys can hear this, but I'm gonna try to play. I'm gonna try to play Justin Pearson's. I'm gonna try to play a clip from him on the other day, because this really was very moving. And again, I hope you can hear it. Hold on a second here, because you need to hear this.
Early this morning, asking God why this is happening. Why, again, does it seem that white supremacy is seeming to gain? Why, again, does it seem like the pillars of pain that we have felt and experienced for over 400 years in this country continue to rise again? And whispered in the words of this Bible and in the words of those ancestors that have gone before us is just these simple words: we're still here. We are still here. This nation, this state has legislated and legalized the worst things in humanity, including our enslavement, and we are still here. Right in this country where, as one black woman said, your ancestors enslaved us, denied us of our rights, called us 3/5 of a person, and yet we are still here. You put us on cotton plantations and tobacco plantations. You denied our human rights and our right to exist as children of God, and we are still here. You destroyed Tulsa. You killed and lynched black folks on poplar trees. Shelby County, Tennessee had the most lynchings of anywhere in this state where you're taking this district, and we are still here. You've had 3 strikes laws, mass incarceration, denied us of who we are, and we are still here. And today you'll take the only majority black district from us. But I want you to know, and I want my nephew, sons, and the future to know, no matter what you do, no matter how much you try and break us and make us bend and make us quit, we will still be here. I was reading.
We are still here, and we will still be here. But again, how did we get here? How did this moment happen? And it's almost as if that's a rhetorical question. I know how we got here. People have been lulled to sleep. People have allowed the term woke to become offensive to them, which woke just means that I'm aware. I'm fully alert, and I'm proud to be woke. How did we get to the place that we're paying gas prices in excess in some places of more than $5 a gallon? How did we get to the place that groceries are costing what they're costing? How did we get to the place that energy costs are what they are? How did we get to the place where so many Black people are okay with our history being erased? How did we get to a place where Black people and white people, we cannot even get along? And then there are those who believe the lies of Donald Trump. And then how do we get to a place where people can say to you that we're still friends? No, we're not friends. If we have a disagreement about how you pronounce tomato or potato, whether it's potato or potato, we can still be friends. That's nothing to, blink an eye at. But when you start talking about you're supporting Donald Trump and I don't support Donald Trump and we can still be friends, no, it doesn't work like that for me, because we're not cut from the same cloth. We are talking about a difference in morality. It's a difference in what I believe and why I believe what I believe. We're in a place, or we're in a space and time where it is still hard for certain people to cast a ballot, and that should not be. Again, we have Black people that consider themselves MAGA, when a lot of the policies that MAGA is for, those policies are against you. The craziness of it all for me is that most MAGA are poor and ignorant and voted against their own interests, because they're paying the same grocery prices, they're paying the same gas prices, energy prices, losing the same health care, whether it's SNAP, whether it's Medicaid, rural hospitals closing, losing the same benefits that everybody else is losing. Meanwhile, the billionaire class, they're the only ones that are making money. We're fighting each other. They're making money. How did we get here? It is important for you to understand that one of the reasons why the Supreme Court struck down this Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is because they know exactly what they're doing. No other time in history have we ever seen such a politically influenced Supreme Court that is supposed to have no partisanship whatsoever. But this Supreme Court knows what it's doing, which is why we had better pray and we had better hope that come the midterms, this 2026, we had better hope that there is a blue wave and that we can bring justice back to this nation. We had better hope that we can get democracy back to where it needs to be. We had better hope that we can get real leadership that can stack the Supreme Court and sway it back the other way to get this country back on track. Because right now, the direction in which we are headed, we're headed nowhere fast. And there's a lot of ensuing chaos and a lot of ensuing harm to so many different people. And that ought not be. That ought not be. Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is essentially no longer. Instead of making it harder to vote, how about just create policies that people can stand with or believe in or support? But when you have to cheat or have to rig an election to try to win or maintain control or maintain power, that should tell you something. But I'm going to say this one time. We have been told there is nothing hidden that will not be revealed. And we know that God gives grace to the proud. God resists the proud, but he gives grace to the humble. what we are seeing and what we are going to continue to see and what is going to happen, God himself is going to have to humble some people on both sides of the aisle, because he's not pleased with the way things are going. We have a responsibility. It's not enough to be apathetic. Well, the government is not for us anyways. You know what? You're part of the problem. Your apathy is a part of the problem. There's a government. Whether we agree with it or not, there is a government. And your voice is your vote is your voice. And it's your right to, it may be like a drop of water in a bucket of water, but it's there. And you have the right to exercise that. We now, for the first time in forever, there's going to be a draft. I have one of my relatives that is a diehard Trumper. That behooves me. But her grandson, my great nephew, is going to have to sign up for the draft to go potentially fight in a war that we didn't ask for. And she's going to have to deal with that. I hope and pray that he never has to be drafted to go fight in a war that we didn't ask for. But the fact that she voted for the clown in the White House, that's bringing back the draft. It's crazy to me. Same grocery prices that I don't like, I know she doesn't like either. But I'm going to leave that one alone, because I'm just going to leave that one alone. Because we grew up in the same household. And I don't understand what I don't understand. Actually, I do, but I'm going to leave that alone. But again, this is not going to be long and drawn out. I want to bring a guest on next week. I did the first 2 episodes, and then I took a little break. But next week, I just finished reading a book. One of my friends who wrote a book. I do want to interview her, so that'll probably be the segment that I record next week, and I will be back then. But I do want to leave this with you guys when I'm asking, how did we get here? Are we content being here, or do we want to shift positions? Because if you just answer that question honestly by saying that you want to shift positions, make sure you're registered to vote. Make sure your loved ones are registered to vote. Because again, the same way the powers that be are coming after the rights of those in Tennessee, if we don't stand for those in Tennessee, who's going to stand for us when they come for our rights? Because surely they're coming. This has been another episode of Talk About It with Marvin Lee. See you guys next week.